Okay, congruence and triangles. You did a little bit of this in 8th grade, none last year. So you probably remember some of this. Congruent is the same as equal. They mean the same thing. Congruent means same size and shape. Equal means same value. So this is an algebra or math. This is geometry, but they mean the same thing. If something's congruent, it's equal. Corresponding angles are, we just went through parallel lines. Corresponding angles are in the same position. So it's the same thing in if you've got two triangles. C and X are both 90, so they're corresponding. If you could turn this up and flip it, it would look just like that. And then angle A and angle Z are corresponding. And then angle B and angle Y are corresponding. So the same thing with the sides, the corresponding sides. This side would correspond to that side. This one would correspond to that one. And this side would correspond to that one. So what happens is if we've got two triangles or any figure that's the same, you can write a congruence statement. If we just listed the corresponding parts, the corresponding angles would be angle A and angle Z, of course, and angle C and angle X, angle B and angle Y. The corresponding sides are CB and YX, or XY, AC and XZ, and then AB and YZ. So that's if you list the corresponding angles and the corresponding sides. The congruent statement, since it's a triangle, you would put the triangle symbol, ABC, but you could call it anything. You could call it CAB or BCA, whatever. If you write it, the first one alphabetically, it's easier to correct, but it's not wrong if you don't. Is congruent, so the second one does matter. Since I put A first, I gotta put Z first, because they're corresponding. And since I put B second, I have to put Y second, and then C and X. So you can just look at this to see what's corresponding. A and Z are the same, B and Y, C and X, and you can also look at the sides. AB, the first two, equals ZY, BC equals YX, AC equals ZX. So that's just the congruent statement. Now, like I said, we could have mixed this up. Say we called it CAB, C-A-B. That just changes this one. Since I put C, I would have to put X first. A is the same as Z. And then the last one is Y. They're both the same. It's just C and X are in the same spot. C and X are in the same spot. A and Z are in the same. Here A and Z are in the same. And then B and Y, B and Y. So here, write a congruent statement for the triangles. Identify all pair of congruent corresponding parts. So the congruent parts are angle A and angle P, because this has 3 marks in it and so does that. Angle C and angle R, and then B and Q. Then the sides would be R, BC and RQ, both have 1 mark, so they're corresponding. AC and RP. and then AB and QP. Now the congruent statement, which you'll be doing in your assignment, is, again, if it's a triangle, you put the triangle symbol to show it's a triangle, ABC, and again, you could put any order you want, but it's easier to keep it alphabetical, is congruent to triangle. A I put first, so I have to put P first because they're the same. B is the same as Q, and C is the same as R. So that is the congruent statement. So here they're not triangles, so if they're not triangles, you don't have to put a symbol. You just list them in order. DEFG is congruent to KLMN. KLMN. So what that means is angle D and K are the same, angles E and L, F and M, G and N. And then the sides, side DE, first two, equals side KL. EF equals LM, the middle two. The last two FG equals the last two FMN. And then the first and last DG equals the first and last KN. So, to find X is this side right there, and M, which is the same as this side, FG. So 5x plus 2 has to equal 12. So when we solve it, subtract 2, divide by 5, and you get 2. Then in order to find y is an angle. It's angle L. Angle L is the second letter, so it's the same as angle E, 111. So you can use the congruent statement to figure out which parts are congruent. E and L are congruent. So, subtract 6, divide by 5, and you get 21. Third angle theorem is just kind of a common sense one. They say that if two angles in a triangle are congruent to two other angles, then the third angle has to equal the other third angle. And you'd be able to figure that out. If this was 80 and this was 60, since they're congruent, that means this is 80 and that's 60. So then 80 and 60 is 140. Triangle's got to add up to 180, so that means this is 40. 80 and 60 is 140. They got to add up to 180, so that means that's 40. So if any two angles are congruent to another two angles in a different triangle, then the third angle is automatically going to be the same. So like in this one, V and Y are the same because they got two marks, so that's 67. U and Z are the same. So in order to figure this out, X and W are the same. So 67 and 54 is 121. So subtract that off of 180 and we would get 59, which means this angle is 59. So in order to figure out what X is, 4x minus 5 has to equal 59. So you add 5, divide by 4, and X is 16. Now, to tell whether or not triangles are congruent, or any figure for that matter, if two figures are congruent, every corresponding angle has to be congruent and every corresponding side has to be congruent. So if you check this, here we see this side equals that, so there's one side, This side equals that because they each have 2, so there's 2 sides. This side equals that. So there's the 3 sides, 3 corresponding sides are congruent. Then you got to check the 3 angles. We know that this angle equals that because they're vertical. We can see right here this angle equals that angle. They're both 81. And then from the triangle theorem is if 2 angles equal 2 other ones, then you automatically know that the third angles are equal. So all 3 corresponding angles are congruent. So in your assignment, you're not going to have to justify your reasoning. It's just if they are congruent, then you got to write the congruent statement. So you would say triangle DEF is congruent, and again, you could put it in any order, FED, or you could put that one first, it doesn't matter. Since I put D first, I got to put H first because they're the same. Since I put E first, I'd have to put G, and then F is the same angle on both sides. So there's the congruent statement. So in triangles, reflexive, every triangle is congruent to itself, obviously. Symmetric is if you've got 2 triangles that are congruent, you can just switch the order. If ABC is congruent to DEF, DEF is congruent to ABC. All that means is it doesn't matter which order you write them in. Transitive, if ABC is the DEF and DEF is the JKL, then you know that these 2 triangles have to be congruent to each other. So, we're going to be doing congruence and finding a missing value. So if this is 58, so is that. If this is 74, it's got 2 marks, so is that, because that's got 2 marks. So then you can figure out what that is. Subtract these 2 off of 180. And it's 48 degrees. So that means that 5x minus 2 has to equal 48. So add 2 and divide by 5. Then the other part of the assignment, decide whether it is. We don't have to justify what it is if it is, you got to write the congruence statement. If the answer is no, you just put no, and you're done. So, this side equals this side, because they got 1 mark. These 2 sides are equal, and these 2 sides are equal. So, the 3 corresponding sides are congruent. And then the angles, these are both 90. These are the same. So, since 2 angles are equal to 2 here, the third set has to equal each other. So all 3 corresponding angles are congruent. If you did have to justify your reasoning, this is what you'd put. But like I said in the assignment, you got to write the congruent statement if they're congruent. So this would be triangle DEF is congruent. Since I put D first, I'd have to put X because they're the same. And then E and Y are the same. And then F and Z. Now, just to point out, on the test, when we're doing these congruent statements, if they're triangles, you do got to label it triangle. Don't just put 3 letters, because in geometry, 3 letters represents a plane. So you got to put that it's a triangle.